one place to constantly run into entitled people? Theme parks. They think just because they bought a ticket, they can treat the staff like crap and do whatever they want. We've got 3 stories from one Redditor who gives you a behind-the-scenes look at how they deal with these morons on a daily basis. Story 1 is titled, Allergic to the Moon? So I'm back with another story from my time working at a very popular theme park in Florida, a magical rat planet of sorts. In my last retelling of past magical experiences, I spoke about a situation involving an entitled parent who became upset that a family was allowed access into the Fast Pass line via Disability Access Service Pass or DAS Pass. A few people mentioned that some people take advantage of such accommodations, and that brought to mind one incident that happened one night at the same attraction. Once again, I was a Fast Pass line greeter and it was during a very busy period. It was late evening and the sun had gone down. A mom and her little boy approached me in line and handed me a DAS Pass. Each DAS Pass then outlined in simple terms more or less what kind of disability an individual had so we would know the appropriate accommodations. This particular kid had a sun allergy, photosensitivity, and could not wait outside in the sun for extended periods without physical harm. During the day, he and one of his guardians would be escorted directly into the attractions by a worker. Now, I've mentioned before that I can be extremely rule-oriented. This rigidity has made me quite liked by management, but occasionally criticized by my friends and coworkers. I examined the pass carefully, which stated for day use only, and by it no longer being daytime, and we were busy with long wait times, I told the mom they would have to wait normally. She fired back that the DAS Pass was an automatic Fast Pass and she hadn't had issues all day as her son was allergic to the sun. I told her that I understood that, but the pass specified that it was good for daytime only, and unless her son was also allergic to moonlight, she would need to obtain a normal Fast Pass or enter the standby line. Well, the mom was not happy and had some unkind words for me, and she said they had the right to use the pass even at night. I declined, and my coworker next to me said I was being too rigid. I reminded him that a few people misused accommodations, making it difficult for people who actually needed them. The woman and her husband walked away and started talking to each other and sneaking glances back at me angrily. Before finally entering the standby line together, they all stared death daggers at me until they got far enough inside where they couldn't see me anymore. This story really had me in my feelings. When I was a kid and we would go to a theme park, they'd see the wheelchair or walker or stroller, whatever I had, realize I needed a little extra help, and let me and my family through. But because of people like this, now you actually have to go to a doctor proving that you have a disability. They see your doctor's paperwork, give you one of those passes, and then they mark it off when you've gone to the ride. You only get to use the ride once, and if you want to go back, you're waiting in line like everybody else. And it's because of people like this who abuse the system. I'm sorry your kid is allergic to the sun. That sucks. But the fact that you're going to try to use the disability card when you don't need it is the exact reason why the rest of us don't get the extra help anymore. Thanks, Karen. On to Story 2. Story 2 is titled 2 Drunk Chicks. Here's another tale from my time working at a very popular theme park in Florida, a magical rat planet of sorts. This happened during my time working in attractions. One evening I was greeting for both the Fast Pass and the single rider line. This happened occasionally if there were too many callouts or if it was a slow season. It was moderately busy and the waits being around 30 minutes for standby, which wasn't that bad for this particular popular ride. My friend and coworker Kay was standby greeter. He was in another story I told, lol. I was standing there greeting when 2 seemingly drunk, half-naked blonde chicks walked up. They were wearing tiny shorts, bikini tops with sheer tops pulled over them. Usually at the time, they would have been asked to cover up better, but I assumed they had just left one of the water parks or something. I didn't care either way. until they tried to faux stumble by me into the fast pass line. I stopped them and asked to see their fast passes. They started giggling while holding each other. I repeated their request politely and they pretended not to understand what I was saying they were too drunk. I asked them to step out of the line so the other guests could go through who had their fast passes out. They pretended again not to understand and tried to keep walking, but I stood in front of them and two finger pointed back to where they needed to go. Well, they stopped stumbling and walked over normally, but continued giggling. I asked them again, did they have their fast passes? The girls continued acting cute and flirtatious towards me. Kay was impressed, but me, not so much. Now, I appreciate beauty in any form, be it male, female, or nature. However, I'm not into women, therefore I'm not into other women's hot pockets, so I found this action distasteful. I told them if they didn't have a fast pass, they needed to go through the standby line like everybody else. One of the girls started pouting. "Oh, come on. Can you please let us through?" Fake baby voice and pouty lip. Me, no. They dropped the act and stomped off angrily. Kay said I should have just let them in because they were hot. Again, I'm a straight woman, so their hotness didn't move me. I saw hot guys daily, but they still had to have a fast pass for the fast pass line. Kay and I received a 15-minute break and then logged on to get new positions. I was placed on the wheelchair assist line by the exit. Guess who I see faux stumbling up the exit, attempting to bypass everyone and enter the ride? The two drunk chicks from earlier. Guess who purposely met them at the exit with their arms crossed and a death stare? If you guess me, you'll be correct. When they saw me, they instantly became upset and asked why I just couldn't let them be on. Others had let them on. I told them if they didn't turn around right now and there and head back where they came from, I would call park security and have them escorted out since they were so drunk and all. They said I was petty and mean, and I said they were pathetic and disgraceful. Kay happened to walk up and witness them stomp off again. He said he would have let them go, reiterating on their hotness. He also received a death stare. Sounds like to me that K guy didn't want his job. I actually know a friend who worked security at the Super Bowl. This was years ago, so the area he was guarding, he wasn't supposed to let anybody in no matter what. And one of the women from the Desperate Housewives tried to sneak by his door. And when he told them no, they tried to pull the "don't you know who I am in the show I'm on?" He said, nice to meet you, never seen your show, but you're still not getting through this door. And if you ask me which one of the Desperate Housewives he actually ran into, he doesn't know because he didn't watch the show. On to story 3. Story 3 is titled, "She Said I Should Have Said Please." Back with another story from my time working at a very popular theme park in Florida, a magical rat place of sorts. This happened during my time working in attractions. I was at a position called Cell. I heard they no longer have the position after the first attraction remodel. Anyways, this position was simple. Basically, all 3 lines, Fast Pass, Standby, and Single Rider, stopped there, and Cell would separate them into 2 rooms where they could watch a stylized video that explained the ride before they made it to Grouper, who would place them on the ride. 2 rooms had waiting areas, row 1 and row 2, in front of the doors separated by metal handrails. Often children and surprisingly some adults would hang on the rails. A few times people were injured by falling off, so this was prohibited. We had a spiel: for your safety and the safety of those around you, please don't sit, stand, or swing on the handrails. Thank you. On this particular day, I was with a new guy that would later become a good friend. He was extremely busy and I was Cell while the new guy watched and learned. I separated 2 large groups into the waiting area after I closed the doors for 2 groups that had entered the video rooms. As usual, a few people and a kid, around 10, started sitting and hanging on the handrails. I did the spiel in my very professional and polite voice. The adults got off the rails, but the kid remained. I stared for a few moments at him and his mom and grandma. He remained sitting and swinging, so I made the spiel again. Still nothing. The mom and grandma continued laughing with one another while the kid continued playing on the rails. I made the spiel 2 more times. The other guests were all staring at them silently. It was weird because they didn't notice over 150 eyes on them. After the 4th time with the spiel, I was irritated, so I walked over and sternly said, "Get down!" The little boy nearly jumped from his skin and immediately got down, running over to his mom. I walked back over to the console, and the new guy was trying not to laugh when the mom stormed over angrily, red in the face. "Hey, that was rude! You could have at least said please." I just remained quiet for a few seconds because if I spoke at that time, something ignorant would have slipped out. After I relaxed my thoughts, I replied sternly, "Please go back to row 1, please." She seemed shook, but eventually walked away. After a semi-lengthy stare down between us two, the new guy couldn't hold it anymore and laughed. We became great friends for many years after that. I don't get how people can do that. You have an entire room full of people glaring at you and they can't believe how you're acting and how you're letting your kid act, and they're just able to ignore it all and keep right on going. Okay, I gotta be honest with my audience because I know I said 3 stories, but I forgot there was one more when I went hunting for content. So this one is going to be a 4-story video. Our last story for the day, I promise. This one is called Salty Manager. Here's another story from my time working at a very popular theme park in Florida, a magical rat planet of sorts. One year, I was promoted to trainer at the resort I worked at. It came with a special pen and an impressive $1 increase by the hour only on training days. Oh boy! I was the best at the pizza shop, the soup and sandwich shop, S&S, so those were the 2 bays I trained newbies in. One day I was tasked with training a new elder manager I'll call Esther, fake name, at the S&S shop. Apparently Esther had worked at the Magical Rat Planet before, but she had quit for some years and returned to this resort where she had never worked. Our training session went well and Esther and I got along fine. She rated me highly on my trainer form. It's customary for newbies to train 2 weeks before being set free on their own. This particular resort had a lot of food bays and a store, so there was quite a bit to learn. However, Esther received less than a week of training and they gave her the okay to manage us. She didn't know what she was doing most of the time due to this. I don't know why they made the decision, but honestly, many things at that job had gone down that were crappy. We had a computer system that chose positions for the workers. However, the managers would often manually place us in positions we were good at or enjoyed. People had worked there for over 20 years, literally doing the same thing. The lady that trained me had been there for over 20 years and only worked in Pizza Front and the SS shop, which is why I got so good at it after her tutelage. This system worked and everyone was happy, well, except for Esther, who felt the computer should make the decisions. One day I was scheduled to clock out at 4 p.m. and I had made some plans with some friends to go out and things were already set and paid for. Esther approached me and demanded that I stay until 9 p.m. and train a newbie and close SS shop because the trainer called out. I politely declined and explained that I had prior engagements and that things were already paid for. Well, she didn't like that and said it was a courtesy that she even asked, and it was my job as a trainer to step in when needed. She said that technically she could force extend my hours and make me do it. I responded that managers could also train and that was part of their job to step in when the workers weren't available. I was polite as she was older. I apologized again and said I couldn't stay. She narrowed her eyes and walked away angrily. From that day forward, she harassed me. One day, she was supposed to be making rounds. She stopped to watch me in Burgerback, BB. Due to my autoimmune disease, I don't regulate temperature well. So BB was my most hated position as it was extremely hot and the movements hurt my joints. Esther watched me for 30 minutes until I accidentally dropped some tongs. She then proceeded to berate me for not being careful enough. Esther started purposely moving me to burger back so I could be uncomfortable. She would get angry when other managers would move me to pizza, SS, or cash. She constantly berated me, only me, about my appearance. My nails were too long. My makeup was too much. By wearing the appropriate socks, even though no one could see them, I was constantly in tears and started having panic attacks before going to work. I had other crap going on as well, and her constant harassment was piling onto it. The final straw was when I had a terrible tooth infection. It required an emergency visit where I was given some strong antibiotics and some hallucinogen-level opioids. I was filling my prescription looking busted when I ran into the head manager, Jay. He instantly knew something was wrong as I didn't have on makeup or a wig. I think he was afraid until I explained the situation through tears. He kindly gave me the rest of the day off. After the infection calmed down and the pain subsided, I went back to work. Jay had informed everyone and they kindly asked about my condition. Not Esther. As soon as she saw me, she started in on a full uniform and nail inspection. I went to Jay and reported her for workplace harassment. I had witnesses that had reported her as well. Jay spoke to her and apparently she said I was a spoiled, disrespectful brat. Jay told her to knock it off, but by that time I had put in for a transfer and was moved to another position in the park that I enjoyed a lot more. I learned from my friends at the resort that Esther had turned her venom towards others and one girl quit after being yelled at by her. A lot of people started quitting for various reasons. I mean, over half the staff, including the people that worked there for decades. It was like I started a chain reaction. They sent in a corporate psychologist to assess the situation and conducted employee interviews. Esther and my name came up a lot. Esther was moved to the sit-down restaurant area full-time, but later she left due to having a heart attack. Sounds like that Esther lady got a little piece of power and just went nuts when someone told her no. As I was going through this story, realizing I've read something similar, I wonder if this is the OP that had that cool story about the guy who went nuts over a pizza receipt. If you want to see that story, click the card on the screen now. It was a wild one. It wrecked the kid's birthday and everything. Wow. This was a long one, but the stories were great, so I didn't want to stop. I hope you enjoyed everything as usual, and this was a supersized edition. I think people get even more entitled in theme parks because they think they're on vacation. They think they can pull the customer is always right and do whatever they want. But with the advent of camera phones and social media, I don't think they're gonna get away with it for much longer. As usual, if you enjoyed the stories, please keep liking, sharing, and subscribing. You make my day when you watch these videos. That way I know I'm not just talking to the void. We're still on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We haven't hit 120 yet. So if I get another subscriber, I'll have an even brighter smile. I hope you enjoyed these crazy stories from an awesome storyteller. I wish I could have a conversation with this lady. I enjoyed reading all of these. We will see you next time at Storytime with Sean. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. I truly appreciate it. If you're enjoying my content, click on the screen now. YouTube has some other videos that I've done that are just as funny and entertaining. Everybody loves to fall down a YouTube rabbit hole. Do it with me. I'll entertain you all day long. Thanks again.